Welcome back to Living in Minnesota. My name is Joe Carmack. I'm your Minnesota real estate agent, and it's time for your Twin Cities real estate market update. This one is for July 2023. So let's get right into it. Here's what I found this month. Let's start with interest rates, which is top of mind for everybody. Quite honestly, there wasn't a lot of changes this month. We're at 6.9 on a 30-year fixed right now. If you look on the left, we're still kind of between that 6 and 7% with lots of fluctuation. The right-hand side is what we did since our last market update. This is the last month. We did spike a little over 7%, but now we're back down kind of towards that upper sixes. So unfortunately, no significant movement there, and we're not really expecting there will be anytime soon. Here is the monthly supply of inventory. This is if we're in a buyer's market or a seller's market. The lower we are, more of a seller's market. This year I just zoomed in for you to see how we've changed over the last 3 years. No changes at all actually from May numbers to June, because of course we're reporting through June's numbers for your July update. So we're still at 1.7 month supply. We should be 6 to be a balanced market. So not even close. We're continuing the trend, but there was no changes since last month. Let's talk days on market. We did come up 1 day that homes are spending on the market before they go pending. That's what that number means. We went from 18 to 19. So continuing our trend of having our market shift to being a little bit more balanced of a market. However, you can see obviously the long term, we're still a really long ways from being where we used to be. I would argue we're probably not going back to the 80, 90, 100 days on market. I just don't think that's going to be the new normal, as we used to. Wasn't that annoying when we used to say the new normal? I think the current thing is the new normal, not the old thing. So I don't think we're going back. But generally homes still selling quite quickly with their days on market. Median sale price. Now this is probably what a lot of you were thinking we were gonna see, and I thought we would actually see this number go down. So there was zero change. You can see there, our median sales price is still at 364, and it's been that way, I think it was for the second or third month now. And we're down a total of $1,000 since basically the first of the year. I think March was the first time we saw numbers go down. March and April, and we're there. So the fact that we didn't go down actually was kind of encouraging. June is of course kind of a hotter month for us, and so perhaps this shouldn't be too much of a surprise. But that was where the boring things ended right there. Let's start talking about the number of new listings. Now, this one I did show you last month. I simplified it for you this month, but basically the number of new listings went down from May to June by a total of 34. That's very common. I think I told you this incorrectly last month, so I apologize. But we do typically see the peaks on here are often May. I don't know exactly on these ones, but I look back, 6 or 7 years, and maybe about half the time they were May, half the time they were June, and then they came back either in June or July then. So it's not surprising at all that we saw that number go down. That's pretty normal. But overall, we're still seeing just a fewer number of new listings. So that was your month-to-month changes for the last 3 years. This is still new listings. However, I zoomed it all the way out to 2005, and this is the rolling 12-month average. So this is where things really are getting interesting for us. Doesn't mean the sky is falling, doesn't mean the market's crashing. No, whether you're hoping it does or hoping it doesn't, people are on both sides. But let's take it one step at a time. This is the number of new listings coming on the market. That's exactly what it sounds like, and we're basically at record lows that we've seen. Now for a couple of months is when we went below our previous low of 2013, you can see there. So incredibly few number of homes that are getting put on the market. You would think, all right, well, if our buyers stayed the same and our number of new listings went back, we should be shifting more towards that seller's market because less supply from the seller side, with the same amount of demand from buyers would be flipping our market to being even more seller favored. That's not the case. We don't have a specific data point like this that I can point to say, here's how many buyers are in the market, but that's when we're looking at that month supply inventory, because that'll show us the balance between that ratio. Since we're not seeing really significant changes in our month supply, which was that 1.7 I showed you off the top, it tells us that as our number of new listings are pulling back significantly, so is the buyers. Our buyers technically aren't pulling out near or just slightly as much as those sellers, because we're seeing it becoming slightly more buyer favored. With that, as you'd imagine, closed sales is falling as well. I don't show you guys this one terribly often because I don't know how much you guys care or how much it's meaningful for you guys. But it certainly is an interesting data point, and it's something that real estate agents are really sweating. There's tens of thousands that have gotten out of the business, simply because there's fewer closings, as you can see here. So that number's dropped considerably. I don't have a specific number. I wish I did. I wish I knew what normal would be. Maybe we'd be 55-ish thousand units selling a month. I don't have a number for where that should be. With a lot of what I've seen before, let me switch this. A lot of the times, with different graphs, because of the last recession, we saw a lot of things spike. So it's pretty safe to assume that would be the number of closed sales happening. I'm purely speculating, but I think that's a pretty good guess. So then if we're somewhere down here, all right, cool. If that was normal, you can see certainly with the pandemic, let me clear some of this off for you. This was when the pandemic happened. So you can see the market kind of pulled back and went, oh shoot, maybe there's this thing and we shouldn't go outside and lockdowns, right? And then everybody went, screw that, I don't care. That's just the blunt reality of what the market did. So then we saw a ton of people get out there buying and selling more than we would have normally seen. That kind of kicked off, that normal cycle of people buying and selling every 7 years or so. People moved early, as we can see, because they were sick of being stuck in their house. Divorces happened, things like that. So that accelerated the number of closed sales happening. So that would have automatically taken some of the future sales, combined them into an earlier time frame. Then you couple that with the changes in interest rates, which of course, really started to happen sort of in this time frame, late 2022 or so that happened. So those two things compounding is what you're looking at right here. I'm not concerned about it. Fortunately for my business, I'm still selling a couple, 2-3 dozen homes, and I'm doing okay. It's hurting agents' income. However, I don't think it's really affecting the consumer too much because the number of buyers and the number of sellers are pulling back at a very similar rate. And so that's that. What I do think is going to be really interesting. I was going to show you one more graph and then I'll move on to the next topic here. Let me clear those out for you. This is the number of showings per listing. So this is affecting both buyers and sellers. Sellers obviously want to get their home sold quickly, but they don't really want to have a lot of showings. And then buyers, of course, don't want to see any more homes than they need to get the one accepted, and they have to do more showings if they're not getting offers accepted. So we saw a big spike during the same time. COVID era pulled things back, then everything went off to the races. What you're looking here is actually really only from maybe like a 5% or 5.5 showings per listing to like an 8.5. So it's not like we just quadrupled or something, but it was certainly a notable increase during the pandemic timeframe, which is that big spike. And then we're starting to see that number coming down. What I'm seeing is generally buyers are having fewer homes to pick from, and I think that's the main thing driving it. Because the number of new listings is going on, they're simply not doing as many showings. It used to be that we'd have to do so many showings because we'd make an offer, not get it accepted, then we have to go see some more and make an offer, not get it accepted, and it was miserable. I think it's actually becoming better for buyers and sellers in that sense. That homes are still clipping right along. What do you think is going to happen when all of a sudden those interest rates that we started talking about, which are really high, all of a sudden come back down? And that's the main focus I really want people to start understanding and start to forecast the future with me. Nobody's got a crystal ball, but number one thing is with presidential elections I think I went about 20 years back. In a previous video, we talked about this. Pretty much every single presidential election, interest rates have gone down. Couple that with rates being incredibly high for what people are used to, and the market's kind of screaming for those rates to come down. There's a ton of pressure on the Federal Reserve to lower their rates so that interest rates will come down in kind. So then we're also starting to see inflation numbers starting to change. Throw all that in a blender. Once inflation numbers come down, they're going to lower interest rates. When there's a presidential election, they're probably going to lower interest rates. And then just the overall economy, we kind of need rates to come down within the confines of inflation being under control. I suspect we're going to see all three of those things kind of snowballing into 2024 and 2025, and we're going to see all that taking in effect in a fairly short amount of time, right? I think you probably are tracking with me. Hopefully you're seeing where I'm coming from. I think that's a very likely scenario. So then what do we do when we're looking at as few closed sales and as few number of new listings hitting the market? people are holding off because they're needing better rates. They don't like their payments. They're not comfortable. Why am I going to sell my current house if I can't find a place to go? When all of a sudden that barrier is lifted by rates coming down, all of a sudden a whole bunch of people are going to get out into the market. I guarantee you. So with that, that's why when some of these metrics look a little concerning, I'm not terribly worried, because I really think that as soon as that happens, the market's going to get back to doing what it was doing. And hopefully it'll be a little bit more of a balanced market. Maybe we'll see a little push from that initial burst of energy, people that had wanted to buy and sell that couldn't, that all of a sudden are able to. And then we'll see that in addition to that normal cyclical number of people that would be buying and selling anyways. And so then once we get over that initial burst, I think hopefully then we'll get to a little bit more of a balanced, kind of even keel market. So that's what's going on in the Twin Cities right now. My name is Joe Carmack. I'm your local Twin Cities real estate agent, and I specialize in relocations as well as, of course, as local sales. So find all my contact information down below, and I'll catch you next time.